It was supposed to be the happiest night of the year, until Santa came knocking, and he wasn't here to bring gifts. The snow was falling in soft, glittering sheets over the quiet little town of Willow Creek, covering the streets like a white blanket. Inside the Parker family's warm and cozy home, the smell of freshly baked cookies filled the air, and the fireplace popped and crackled with dancing flames. Emma Parker, a curious 10-year-old girl with wide, bright eyes, sat by the frosted window, tracing little circles in the glass as she watched the snowflakes swirl outside. She loved Christmas Eve. It always felt magical. But tonight, something was different. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw movement near the gate. A tall figure dressed in a red suit stood in the snow, perfectly still. Her heart skipped, and she gasped softly. "Mom, Dad, Santa's here," she called out, excitement bubbling in her voice. Her parents exchanged amused smiles, thinking it was probably just a neighbor playing a joke. But then came the knock. Slow, heavy, 3 loud thuds that seemed to echo through the entire house. Her father walked to the door and swung it open, but the porch was empty, the cold night air rushing in. Only one thing lay in the snow, a single red glove, large and worn, with a dark stain near the fingertips. He bent down to pick it up, glancing around, but there were no footprints leading away from the door, only the ones that came toward it. A shiver ran down his spine as he stepped back inside, locking the door. Emma kept staring out the window, searching for the figure she had seen, but the yard was now empty, completely still except for the faint jingle of bells somewhere far away in the darkness. The night in Willow Creek had never felt so heavy. By Chapter 12 of The Parker's Nightmare, the once cheerful Christmas season had turned into an endless loop of fear. The wind outside roared like a wild animal, rattling the windows and shaking the loose shingles on the roof. Inside, the Parker family huddled together in the dim light of a single candle, too afraid to turn on the power. Emma's small hands clutched the old red glove they had found weeks ago, the same one that had appeared mysteriously on their doorstep the first night this all began. Her mother whispered, "We should burn it," but her father's voice trembled as he replied, "It's too late." The sound came again, slow, deliberate footsteps crunching in the snow outside, moving closer to the door. The jingling of bells grew louder, mixed with the faint creak of a wooden sleigh. Suddenly, the candle flickered violently, as if a gust of wind had passed through the room, even though every window was shut tight. Emma's breath caught when she saw a shadow slide across the wall, tall, hunched, and wearing a pointed hat. The door handle began to turn on its own, the metal scraping against the lock. Then, with a deafening bang, the door burst open, and the figure in red stepped inside. Snow swirled in around him, but it didn't melt. It seemed to follow him, like a living thing. His eyes glowed faintly in the darkness, his grin wide and sharp. In a voice that was almost a growl, he said, "The list is almost complete." Emma felt her heart stop. She knew exactly who the last name on that list was. The next evening, the Parkers decided they couldn't spend another night in the house. Suitcases were half-packed, coats thrown over chairs, and the car keys lay ready on the table. The snow outside had thickened, swallowing the streets in white silence. But in the middle of the chaos, something strange caught Emma's eye. A small box sitting neatly on the kitchen table, wrapped in shiny red paper and tied with a black ribbon. No one had put it there. Her mother's voice was sharp, "Don't touch it," but Emma's curiosity overpowered her fear. Slowly, she untied the ribbon and lifted the lid. Inside sat a delicate snow globe, the glass cold to the touch. She shook it gently, and flakes swirled inside, revealing a miniature version of their own house except in the tiny globe. The house was on fire, orange flames licking the roof. Before anyone could speak, the wind outside began to howl, rattling the windows until they cracked. The front door slammed open with a force that shook the walls, and the figure in red stood in the doorway. Snow whirled around him like a living storm, his eyes glowing faintly through the darkness. He stepped inside, and the air turned bitterly cold. The snow globe slipped from Emma's hands, shattering on the floor. Water and glitter spread across the wood, and in that instant, the lights went out. In the pitch black, his voice came deep and slow, "Merry Christmas." Forever. A sudden silence fell, as though the house itself was holding its breath. The Parkers were never seen again. And every Christmas Eve in Willow Creek, people still hear the sound of boots crunching in fresh snow, and the faint jingle of bells, stopping just outside their doors. If you enjoyed this chilling tale, hit like, drop a comment, and share it with your friends. Subscribe to Deep Epoch for more spine-tingling horror stories every week.